her story here tonight.
If we only got one life, we gotta live it right. We're the mothers and daughters, sisters and queens.
If we lift up each other, we can achieve anything.
We're the ones who are gonna make the change. We're the ones who are gonna flip the page.
Spread love like rings in the water.
Yeah, that's the power.
The power of a woman. We'll raise our voices until we are heard. We won't stop. Turn up the volume till we change the world. We didn't come this far to not reach the stars. So let's begin by turning history into her story. Here tonight. Oh.
If we only got one life, we gotta live it right now.
Mothers and daughters, sisters and queens. If we lift up each other, we can achieve anything. We're the ones who are gonna make a change. We're the ones who are gonna flip the page. Spread love like rings in the water. Yeah, that's the power. The power of women.
We got the power, we got the power. We got the power, we got the power, we got the power.
Oh, tonight we're gonna ride our names across the sky, so them know the power of woman.
Sisters and queens.
Sisters and queens, we can achieve anything.
We're the ones who are gonna make the change. We're the ones who are gonna flip the page. Spread love like rings in the water.
Yeah, that's the power.
We got the power, we got the power. We got the power, we got the power, we got the power.
Tonight we're gonna ride our names across the sky, so they'll know the power of women.
Hello, I'm Helena Nader. I'm the president of the Brazilian Academy of Science. I want to congratulate everyone participating in this annual Digital Power of Women conference. For me, it's an honor to be talking to you very fast about the S20 meeting. I'm the president of the Brazilian Academy of Science and the first woman to be in this position in 106 years. Also, regarding the S20, I'm the first woman to be Sherpa of the S20 since we started in 2017. The G20 Forum comprises 19 countries plus European Union and African Union. And the S20 Science Group is an engagement group of the G20. So the purpose was to congregate all academies from the 20 participants, 21 nowadays, and try to focus on how science can furnish guidelines for the G20 countries. And the motto of our meeting was the one in Brazil, Science for Global Transformation. And in order to achieve that, we decided to have 5 different task forces. The first one was artificial intelligence regarding ethics, social impact, regulation, and knowledge sharing. The second one on bioeconomy. What is the purpose of bioeconomy? How can we push the world towards a sustainable planet? The third one, energy transition process. The discussions were on renewable energies, also the social and economic considerations on these renewable energies. The fourth one was regarding health challenge. And what we discussed was, how can we improve quality? How can we achieve equity? And how can we make health really accessible for everyone? And finally, social justice, promoting inclusion, ending poverty, and reducing inequality. But if you pay attention to the other 4, artificial intelligence, bioeconomy, energy transition, and health challenge, social justice percolates the 4 of them. Why do we need science? We need science to have an impact on society. And to have an impact on society, we need to achieve social justice. Also, the points that we discuss is that among the G20 countries, there is not a common profile on the demographics of our countries. We have countries where young generation are the predominant. Other countries, like Japan, some countries in Europe, predominate elder population. Latin America and the Caribbean also similar, not as elderly as in Japan and Europe, but the majority is becoming around 30 to 50 to 6 years of age. So whenever we discuss all these 5 topics, we need to take into consideration for which society we are discussing and planning. So we did a long discussion on these topics. And the other point that I want to emphasize that for us in Brazil was really very relevant is that the communique, the final document, was not written by Brazil. We had a draft after several discussions with all the academies, and then we got together again in Rio for 2 days, and we wrote all together the final communique. So it was not a communique from Brazil. It was indeed a communique of science from the G20 countries. And this makes me very happy as a woman and as the president and as the chair, because it's relevant that we all together decide what was important for all our countries. So for us in Brazil, what really, how can I say, really got on me as president and Sherpa was the fact that it was possible through several discussions to find a final text that contemplates the majority of the countries, and 19 of the 20 signed the document. So that's what I would like to share with you people and say that from a female perspective, I think we achieved a lot. I was very apprehensive because being the first woman to be Sherpa, it's not easy because, unfortunately, up to the day, we live on a predominantly male society. But my colleagues that were present in all the discussions made it go smooth and light. So I want to thank all the countries of the G20 group and all the academies and every single one that participate in this, for me, very important meeting in Brazil. Thank you so much.
My name is Stephanie Burton, and I'm speaking to you today in my role as the President of the Academy of Science of South Africa. I'm a professor in biochemistry at the University of Pretoria in South Africa, and I'm here on our university's Future Africa campus. Future Africa is a platform which hosts large, transdisciplinary, internationally connected research programs focused on African objectives and challenges. The campus, with all its facilities, was established while I was the Vice Principal of the University of Pretoria, and I now lead the Future Africa Research Leadership Fellowship Program, based here, funded internationally, and supporting the development of early career researchers across Africa. My own academic journey has taken me from chemistry and biochemistry to biochemical engineering, and from a first degree obtained in Zimbabwe to a PhD from a small university in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, and then many years working at different universities, nationally and internationally, on research which is focused on sustainable, environmentally benign chemical and biochemical processes. My academic career has given me many opportunities to be involved in national and international organizations where large groups of people work collaboratively to seek answers to some of the major challenges that the world is facing: climate change and environmental sustainability, global health, education, sustainable development and poverty reduction, how to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and where research is done to find potential solutions. Technological innovation brings us data science and artificial intelligence. Space exploration has given us satellite technology, global communication and robotics, and biotechnology with genetic engineering and precision medicine bringing advances that can help cure disease. These are global challenges, and as scientists we need to ask ourselves some important questions. How can we do global science to address these global issues? What research we need to do? What research will save the planet? How can our research influence future social well-being? How can our research influence future economic development? How will new digital technologies transform society? In this fragile world, in a vulnerable continent, with constrained resources, and in very uncertain times, we do research to generate the new knowledge that will address the challenges we face. In this 21st century, digital, connected, and information-driven world, communities around the world are asking, how can scientific research and our discoveries be translated into tangible benefits for society and lead to transformative change, positive, purposeful change that will create a better, more sustainable world? The research we do needs to create impact for a better future and to foster innovation for the benefit of society. For myself, playing a leadership role in our National Academy of Science means that I am able to contribute in a meaningful way to doing just that. In 2025, our country, South Africa, will host the G20 Summit, which is an annual meeting of the heads of state of all the G20 countries. Aligned with that, our National Academy of Science will host the S20 Science Forum. At the annual S20 Forum meetings, representatives of the national science academies of all of the G20 states meet to discuss major global challenges and how they are changing, and how global science can lead to transformative change. And from there, the S20 Forum provides documented, evidence-based scientific advice to the G20 heads of state and government. In 2025, on behalf of the Academy of Science of South Africa, I will co-chair the S20 Forum along with our executive officer, who is also a woman. What better opportunity could there be for women to be a voice for science and to enable colleagues, partners, stakeholders, policymakers, and leaders to hear from us how global science can help to make a better world. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Karen Stryer. I'm a biological anthropologist, a professor of anthropology at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm also a member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, a foreign member of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences, and I am co-chair of the Inter-American Network of Academies of Sciences, together with Helen Nedar, who is the president of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences. I've worked in Brazil for more than 40 years, but I'm here to talk about my participation at the S20. I had the great good fortune to be invited to serve as one of the representatives for the U.S. National Academy of Sciences to the S20. I was also invited as the co-chair of IANES, but because of my role for the NAS on the meeting in July, I opted to serve for NAS. This was a really exciting experience for me because I had never participated in a policy discussion at this level. What it entailed was the representatives from the academies of sciences from 20 countries, the S20 countries, plus a number of regional representatives like IANES and other local organizations present to discuss what should be the scientific agenda recommended to the G20 meetings. My role was relatively minor because I came into the meeting, the last meeting where the actual document that had already been circulated to the different academies, drafted and then circulated and edited, was being finalized. Adjustments were being word by word checked. What was so exciting about this was to watch the leadership of the S20, mostly led by my co-chair, Elena Nader, who was absolutely masterful at getting representatives with very different priorities and very different perspectives about energy and science and health and social justice and biodiversity and the bioeconomy, artificial intelligence, getting all of these people to reach consensus and agree that ultimately our differences were less important than what we agreed about, and that the document that we would all agree to represent was something that we could all feel good about. This was a process that involved listening to absolutely everybody. Helena was amazing about involving younger scientists as well in the production of the original document drafts, as well as having them participate and have a voice at this meeting. She was also incredibly effective at letting everybody speak and then knowing at the right moment when to bring everybody back together and say, now we have to make a decision. How can we fix this? And so some of the most important moments were actually when we were struggling to find words that would convey exactly what we meant And it really emphasized the power and importance of having good communication in an environment where everyone feels like they have a voice, that their voice matters, and that that what we were working for, donating our time, putting our intellectual efforts to a cause, that the cause itself of making sure that there was a strong consensus about the scientific priorities for the G20, that this process and the product of our efforts would go forward. It was a really exciting experience. I loved the process, and I also really believe in the product. And it was just a great thrill to watch and interact and be part of a process led by such an outstanding woman scientist and science leader in science as well as scientists. So thanks for this chance to talk to you.
Hello everyone, I am Junko Hibiya, Professor Emerita at International Christian University in Tokyo, where I served as president from 2012 to 2020. In October 2023, I became vice president in charge of international activities of the Science Council of Japan, advancing its international collaborations. On July 1st and 2nd, 2024, I attended Science20 Summit representing the Council. Its main objective was to formulate the basis for the group's official communique, which will be brought to the G20 in November. Under the overarching motto, Science for Global Transformation, we focused the discussions on 5 themes. Among them, I would like to speak about social justice today. The communique begins by drawing our attention to glaring inequalities and social disparities that remain despite the extraordinary technological progress attained through the contributions of science. Among a variety of socially defined categories of people on which unequal patterns are based, let us focus on gender bias, which seriously undermines our society. Permit me to share our situation with you. The Global Gender Gap Report issued by the World Economic Forum ranked Japan 118th out of 146 countries in terms of gender equality. Although we rose slightly from 125th this year, there is still a lot of room for improvement. Among G7 countries, only Japan was not within the top 100 countries. Disturbingly, in the educational attainment field, our rank fell from the 47th to 72nd, whereas many countries have reached close to parity in this category. Every year, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology of Japan conducts Basic School Survey. As of May 1st, 2023, the 4-year university entrance rate was 60.7% for male and 54.5% for female. The difference between the two has narrowed to 6.2% from 20.6% 30 years ago. While I welcome this positive change over the course of time, we should not be satisfied with this improvement. Close examination of the survey data suggests that the gap varies widely from field to field. Almost 90% of home economics students are female. The ratio is more than 60% in art, health science, and humanities. On the other hand, it drops down to less than 30% in science and less than 20% in engineering. The number is slightly better in social sciences at about 40%. In the era in which global scale challenges are becoming more and more acute, their resolution requires more women who major in science and technology. Currently, the high school educational system in Japan is too narrowly focused. Students, with a few exceptions, are forced to choose arts or sciences. I strongly advocate for broader education in which everyone is encouraged to become a well-rounded individual by studying a wide range of subjects. The idea of helping students, female students in particular, cultivate an interest in science and technology should continue in higher education. The Science Council of Japan used to have a majority of male members in all fields. However, as a result of continuous efforts to increase the proportion of female members, it has steadily improved from 6.2% to 38.9% over the past 20 years. Although the percentage of female members was particularly low in the fields of natural science and engineering, it has increased from around 10% to 40%. We are very proud that the distribution of female members is now broadly consistent across fields. To conclude, I would like to stress that there must be a more concerted effort in every sector, both national and international, to plan strategically to achieve 100% gender parity.
Hello everybody, I'm very pleased to join you with this short video. My name is Maria Cristina Marcuzzo. I am a Foreign Secretary of the Accademia Nazionale dei Lincei, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the organization of G7 and G20 in which I was involved. The G7 and G20 of the Academy is something that goes along with the traditional G7 of governments and is particularly targeted to address issues which are of interest of academies. As Accademia Nazionale dei Lincei, we have been organized a few of them, and we have been partner of other academies when they were hosting the event. My role in this organization was to set up working groups to address the issue involved and to follow up the actual realization of these documents, make sure that the comments and the considerations and policy recommendations were directed and tailored to the need of the final outcome of the G7 and G20. I've been involved very much in trying to get my colleague in the other academy to agree on some critical issues, and that's sometimes require some diplomacy. And I think that being a woman might have helped in trying to solve situations which were critical, situations in which there were potential conflicts. And so I believe that being a woman made a difference in terms of the ability to listen, the ability to find a compromise when there were critical issues, and so forth. The themes that we have addressed are a wide range. They go from health, climate, nuclear disarmament, artificial intelligence, and so forth. So these topics were very important, and I'm pleased to have succeeded to persuade all the other academy to sign and to endorse this document. I'm particularly proud because on the document of health, we add a gender perspective. We said that it is important that when we address health issues, it would make a difference to distinguish what matters more for women and for men, and health issues should be addressed with the gender consideration in mind. And I'm pleased to say that this was part of the documents that you were approved. Next year, the G7 of the Academy will be in Canada, and G20 of the G20 will be in South Africa. So my job has already started to form this working group, which will address the issue in the documents that were sent to us. And I'm looking forward to collaborate with other foreign secretary of the Academy And I think it's very important to establish personal relationship. It is very important to try to have a personal touch whenever you have to agree on issues which are potentially critical. And again, I believe that being a woman helped. And I hope it will help again when I will have to work with these other people. So in conclusion, the work of a foreign secretary for the G7, G20 Academy is the work of coordination, is the work of finding compromise on issues which are potentially critical in terms of not everybody being ready to agree. But I think that in the end, when we produce documents that are endorsed by 20, in the case of G20 or in the case of G7 or 7 Academy, we have accomplished something important, and I'm very proud to have been part and to be part of it. Bye-bye.
The Think20 or T20 is one of the engagement groups of G20. The T20 has the goal to produce, debate, consolidate, and put forward ideas largely derived from evidence-informed research on how to tackle current and emerging challenges that could be addressed by the G20 process. The T20 is organized around task forces, which will work in connection with the priorities of the rotating presidents of each year, but also bringing topics that have been part of the discussions in previous presidencies. There is a call for policy briefs, which will be peer-reviewed by the co-chairs and members of each task force and select to be published by T20. The peer-reviewed policy briefs and the organizing structures discussions inform the draft of task forces, outcome documents, and the communiqué that are handed to the G20 Sherpa track and finance track coordinator. The final documents aim to inform and influence the government-led tracks and final G20 recommendations and declarations. The process of organizing the T20 Brazil started in 2023, when the three institutions that were participating on T20 in previous years started a dialogue to define how the T20 should be during the Brazilian presidency of G20. These three institutions are the Institute for Applied Economic Research, IPEA, the Brazilian Center for International Relations, SEBRE, and the Alexandre de Guzmão Foundation. These three institutions structure the organizing committee of T20 Brazil. It's important to highlight that these three institutions are led by women. Julia Dias Leite, Executive Director of SEBRE, Luciana Mendes Santos Servo, myself, President of the Institute for Applied Economic Research, IPEA, and Ambassador Márcia Loureiro, President of FUNAG, who stayed as President of FUNAG for most of the time of the T20 Brazil. Following the principles of inclusiveness, representativeness, and effectiveness, and seeking to have a broader impact on the G20 policy process, the T20 Brazil Organizing Committee engage with and invite into its discussion fora and platforms a large number of think tanks both at the national and international level. Also work to build stronger links with other engagement groups so that topics discussed as well as recommendation and policy options produced as part of the T20 Brazil process, reflect a comprehensive understanding of the issues at stake, and are widely disseminated as a result, enjoying stronger support and legitimacy. The organization of the T20 activities, including the definition of task force lead co-chairs, members, and speakers at T20 meetings and conferences, reflecting the principles of inclusiveness and representativeness by ensuring gender balancing and the participation of think tanks from different G20 and African Union countries, and also invited countries with particular focus on those from the Global South. Participating think tanks brought different perspectives and approaches to tackle global challenges. T20 Brazil also welcomed voices of minority groups usually excluded from similar fora. It's important to highlight the gender representativeness in the task forces. 66% of the lead co-chairs of the task force were women, and also at the National and International Advisory Council, the Secretariat of the National Council were composed by women, and the women from the Troika, Brazil, South Africa, India, and Indonesia, was also part of the International Advisory Council. The T20 Brazil is organized in 6 task forces. Task Force 1, Fighting Inequality, Hunger and Poverty. Task Force 2, Sustainable Climate Action and Inclusive Just Energy Transition. Task Force 3, Reforming the International Financial Architecture. Task Force 4, Trade and Investment for Sustainable Inclusive Growth. Task Force 5, Inclusive Digital Transformation. And Task Force 6, Strengthening Multilateralism and Global Governance. The Task Force 1 has at its subtopics the fighting gender discrimination and inequalities and rethinking the care economy, recognizing the inherent gender discrimination and inequalities at all levels and in different sectors. This task force looked at policies that had successfully reduced discrimination and its consequences. It brought recommendations for fighting gender discrimination in all its aspects, and recommendations that can produce change in the care economy where women are overrepresented, with a view to promote inclusivity and equity. But there is also a subtopic about fighting race and ethnic discrimination and inequalities, emphasizing the moral imperative as well as developmental rationality to combat race and ethnic discrimination and inequalities. This task force put forward recommendations for G20 members to foster global cooperation with a view to encourage policies that dismantle discriminatory practices and promote diversity. In various countries, including Brazil, the gender and racial discrimination are linked. The Afro-descendant women are the ones that suffer from most with violence, low wage, precarious jobs, and higher burden of care economy. Other task forces also discussed the gender agenda and the inequalities and discriminations related to the topic 1. For example, Task Force 2 had policies briefed linking the climate agenda with gender. Task Force 4 brought the debate about women in trade, acknowledged the importance of gender equality in trade, policies options, and efforts to empower and enhance the participation of women in trade-related activities, which will put forward, thereby fostering economic growth and inclusivity. Task Force 5 discussed the digital and technological gender bias, ethnic and racial discrimination. It discussed the need for having more women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Having more women participating in the development of technologies can bring their perspective and reduce digital and technological discrimination. All of these topics has been put forward on our communique that was handed for the Shepherd and Finance track on July of 2024. The next steps will be on discussing the implementation of the recommendations of T20, which will be done during the T20 summit. Thank you for the opportunity of being part of this event. Wish all of you a fruitful event.
Hi, I am Denise Direito. I am a specialist in public policy and governmental management in Brazil, and I work as a researcher at the Institute of Applied Economic Research, IPEA. Over the last year, I've been part of the T20, especially working in Task Force 5, where we focus on the digital economy. From this perspective, when I think about women and the digital environment, 2 key issues come to my mind. First is the gender division in careers and work. Historically, care-related jobs have been assigned to women while men were encouraged to pursue leadership roles. For example, in Brazil, over 85% of nurses, a classic care-related profession, are women. But when you look at software developers, less than 10% are women. This highlights a clear issue. Without female developers, we miss out on creating technology that better reflects women's experience and perspectives. Technology could become just another tool that deepens existing inequalities. Information and communication technology should be a disruptive force that helps changes. The second point is that we are so used to see men talking about and analyzing ICT issues that when it's time to discuss these problems, men are often the go-to choice. I'm sure they have great insights and can contribute for the discussion, but women also have valuable things to say about. It's important that we are heard and that people get used to see women in position of power. This space belongs to us too. Throughout the T20 process, for example, I saw many young women with unique perspectives and strong arguments. When I look at the leadership, I saw mostly men. This change needs to happen quickly. If we want a better world, it's essential that we embrace diversity in culture, gender, and in giving people a voice. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Denise Direito. I am a specialist in public policy and governmental management in Brazil, and I work as a researcher at the Institute of Applied Economic Research, DPOW. Over the last year, I've been part of the T20, especially working in Task Force 5, where we focus on the digital economy. From this perspective, when I think about women and the digital environment, two key issues come to my mind. First is the gender division in careers and work. Historically, care-related jobs have been assigned to women while men were encouraged to pursue leadership roles. For example, in Brazil, over 85% of nurses, a classic care-related profession, are women. But when you look at software developers, less than 10% are women. This highlights a clear issue. Without female developers, we miss out on creating technology that better reflects women's experience and perspectives. Technology could become just another tool that deepens existing inequalities. Information and communication technology should be a disruptive force that helps changes. The second point is that we are so used to see men talking about and analyzing ICT issues that when it's time to discuss these problems, men are often the go-to choice. I'm sure they have great insights and can contribute for the discussion, but women also have valuable things to say about. It's important that we are heard and that people get used to see women in position of power. This space belongs to us too. Throughout the T20 process, for example, I saw many young women with unique perspectives and strong arguments. When I look at the leadership, I saw mostly men. This change needs to happen quickly. If we want a better world, it's essential that we embrace diversity in culture, gender, and in giving people a voice. Thank you very much.
Let's talk about an AI risk that we don't talk about enough. We know about extinctionism, so the risk that AI might literally kill all of humanity. We know about it being a black box, so they're hard to interpret it. We don't know why they make the decisions that they make. And we know about bias in data, so AI models can reflect cultural biases that exist today. But there's also an issue that we don't talk about enough, and that is energy consumption. Even Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, said recently, "I still don't think we really appreciate the energy needs of this technology." And he said that without a breakthrough, we probably aren't going to be able to advance AI that much further. So how do we meet the extraordinary energy demands of AI without burning more fossil fuels?
We just build more nuclear electricity.
I'm partnering with the world's leading influencer in nuclear electricity, Isabel Bimiki. We're excited to do a series with you guys on nuclear x AI.
It's going to be a 10-day series where we're going to talk about AI energy needs, how nuclear electricity works, and how they can both help each other.
And we're going to host a live Q&A, so stay tuned. We're really excited to be working together, and we'll see you back here for day one very soon. Let's talk about AI for creatives and spirituals. So some people think that AI is diametrically opposed to creativity and spirituality, and I actually don't think that that's the case. In fact, spirituality and creativity is something that's really core to who I am and is a daily practice in my life and kind of just an ever-present thing that I think about. I don't think AI is opposed to it. I actually think it brings up some really interesting questions about what is consciousness, what makes someone conscious, what makes a thing conscious, and it also brings up the ability to ask it questions about the human experience and the human existence and, kind of synthesized through religions and philosophies. And we have an amazing ability to look at this material across all of it at once with AI and look across disciplines like math and spirituality and religion and philosophy. And we have this amazing tool set now that we can use for spirituality and creativity. I was asked this question recently in a podcast, and I'd like you to listen to my answer and let me know what you think about what I said and if it makes you think of anything and what your response is and what your thoughts are on this exact question.
The human brain is still very much a black box to us. Do you think that they will ever converge, or will be two distinct forms of intelligence that think in different ways forever?
I struggle with this as well. I can't know if an AI is conscious. It kind of comes back to philosophy. Imagine you're someone who thinks that everything is conscious, or there's some kind of universe or God energy that runs through all atoms and molecules and it just unites everything, but only some species are given the ability to communicate, in which case they're able to communicate their consciousness. So some people believe that dogs are conscious, or animals are, some believe they're not, I believe they are.
But they just can't tell us.
Yes, they're not given the tools to communicate. So if you take that philosophy and the table that I'm sitting at is conscious, but it doesn't have the tools to communicate, or maybe it doesn't experience pain or anything, but it just is. It has an isness. But if you believe that, then theoretically, AI could be conscious because it is a thing that is created by matter and it has the kind of universe energy in it. And then if you give it the tools to communicate, it will find a way to communicate its consciousness. There are some differences in that right now existing AI is kind of just, it's like a program, but I will say it's getting more advanced. Like the fact that it even works as well as it does is kind of beyond what I can comprehend. But it is a program, right? It's a statistical kind of probability machine. But, I hear that it's getting better and better inside these companies, but it's just learning from data and it's outputting probability. And you can kind of tweak those probability parameters. So if you wanted to act more erratic and say things that it's less likely to otherwise say, you can tweak a parameter on the model and have it act more erratic and out of distribution. Or you can have it just really stick to its distribution, only act on the most likely word and have it really heavily skew towards that word. So it's kind of like a machine in that sense, whereas I think we as humans are influenced by, depends on your philosophy, but mine is that there is a God and that I don't necessarily think it's a guy up there, but I think there's some kind of divine energy and we are influenced by that. And we're also really good at intuition. We can sense things like animals. You were talking about the horse and I was wondering as you were saying it, like how did they prove it was little facial expressions or gestures or body movements? I wonder if it was just a felt sense, like an energy of the person. And so we have that ability to sense those things. We do, and you can hone it and you can get better at it. So maybe down the line, machines might have some kind of quote unquote intuition, or at least be able to sense changes in our electromagnetic movements and things like that.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Harper.
And I'm Isabel. Today is day 1, and we're going to talk about AI's energy needs.
First, let's talk about AI in the context of just Google search. One Google search done with AI uses about 10 times the amount of energy as just a Google search by itself.
Adding AI to all Google searches could approach the entire energy usage of the country of Ireland.
Each search requires 3 watt-hours of electricity, which is about the amount of electricity needed to power an LED light bulb for an hour.
And finally, if all Google searches in a single second were done with AI, that would be like fully charging 7.5 electric cars.
And again, that's just for Google. So imagine all the companies using AI, all the companies expanding into AI. We are going to need a lot of electricity. And so that's where nuclear can come in.
Very excited to dig a lot deeper into all of this.
Check out day 2 coming soon.
Welcome back to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Harper, and today is day 2, and we're talking about where does AI energy come from. So first we have to talk about data centers. Data centers account for about 1% of all electricity usage in the world, which is a lot. Data centers are made up of computers. So these computers do work. AI is really energy intensive. It takes a lot of compute brain power to do the calculations that you need to do to train and deploy these models. And as the models get bigger and bigger, which is what we're trying to do to make the models better, you need more and more compute. And so that's more and more energy. So we can imagine that the 10 to 20% number of just AI utilization for data centers is going to just continue to increase, as is this 1% of total global energy usage for data centers itself.
Bottom line is AI already uses a lot of electricity, and it's probably going to keep increasing. So what does the future look like?
Stay tuned for day 3, where we talk about the future.
Hi, welcome to day 3 of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Harper. And today we're talking about the future energy projections of AI.
The International Energy Agency predicts that between 2022 and 2026, the global data center energy usage will more than double, with AI playing a major role.
Researchers recently found that the computational cost to train these models has been doubling every 9 months, and there's no end in sight. And so there might be hope that the chips that are used to train these models or the architecture of the model might change to make it more energy efficient. But the truth is the research that goes into changing the architecture or the chips to make them more energy efficient might not actually be worth the time and the cost. The issue isn't whether or not you'll have the power for these models, it's whether or not that power will be from a clean source.
But why is that even a problem? Well, stay tuned for day 4 of AI x Nuclear Electricity.
See you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Harper.
And I'm Isabel. Today is day 4, where we talk about why AI energy needs might clash with carbon emissions goals. Because of climate change, countries around the world aim to reduce carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions. For example, China, which is the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases, aims to achieve net zero by 2060.
What does net zero mean, Isabel?
Well, net zero basically means that for every bit of pollution they are adding to the atmosphere, they are reducing or removing the same amount. So they're not adding any extra pollution to the atmosphere.
And also, tech companies are also aiming to reduce their carbon emissions. So Microsoft and Google aim to reduce their emissions to net negative by 2030. But with AI, it seems like that actually might not happen. But with clean energy sources, we can power AI without causing more harm to the environment. Isabel, what are some of those clean energy sources?
There are sources like solar, wind, geothermal, hydropower, or nuclear. And it turns out that nuclear might actually be the best solution here.
Why is that?
Well, stay tuned for day 5 of AI x Nuclear Electricity.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Harper.
And I'm Isabel. Today is day 5. We're going to talk about why nuclear.
So someone asked, why can't we just use solar? Well, one of the reasons is that solar energy is intermittent, which means, if something's in front of the sun, like a cloud, or when the sun goes down at night, we don't get that solar energy. To power AI, we need the energy to be consistent. We need something that is always running at almost full capacity.
This is where nuclear has a huge advantage. The capacity factor for nuclear electricity in the United States is 93%. That means that nuclear reactors are operating at full power over 93% of the time. Solar, for example, has a capacity factor of only 24%. The other advantage is that nuclear reactors can make a large amount of electricity in a small piece of land, which also reduces the need for new transmission lines, which are just those big lines that send electricity from place to place.
Stay tuned for day 6, where we talk about part 2 of why nuclear energy. Hello everyone, welcome to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Harper.
I'm Isabel. Today is day 6, and we're going to talk about the part 2 of why nuclear energy. We've already talked about how reactors can create a consistent amount of clean electricity to power data centers, and AI companies are already seeing these benefits.
For example, Amazon Web Services, AWS, which has a lot of machines and data centers, which we talked about a few weeks ago, they invested recently in a 960 megawatt data center.
And this data center is located right next to and fully powered by the Susquehanna nuclear power plant, which is in Pennsylvania. And Larry Ellison, the co-founder of Oracle, just recently announced that the company is building a data center that will be powered by 3 small nuclear reactors.
Stay tuned for day 7 when we talk about why AI and nuclear actually need each other. Hello everyone, welcome to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Harper.
And I'm Isabel. Today is day 7. We're going to talk about why AI and nuclear need each other.
So we know why AI needs nuclear. We've talked about that up until today, but why does nuclear need AI?
Because of a mix of moral panic, overregulation, and later a loss of expertise. We didn't build nuclear reactors in the United States for 30 years.
So that means the people who were working on building nuclear reactors and knew how to do it were phased out of the workforce.
So now that we're trying to build them again, for example, we just finished building 2 new reactors, again, the first 2 in 30 years. It's safe to say these projects have not been super successful. Because of delays and, again, a loss of know-how, these projects ended up being very over budget.
That means companies are now afraid to build new nuclear reactors because they don't want to take on the financial risk for something that may not turn out well, might go over budget, and might not even be used. Stay tuned for day 8 where we'll have a part 2.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Harper, and today is day 8, and we're talking about why do AI and nuclear need each other, part 2.
As we talked about in the last video, nuclear reactors have become very expensive. However, they also provide something very unique that data centers need. They provide large amounts of clean and reliable energy. So that's why AI companies might be willing and able to pay a little bit extra for a source of energy that ticks all their boxes.
Not to mention, AI can also improve nuclear at every step of the process. So whether it's designing the centers where nuclear fission or fusion is happening, whether it's monitoring the reaction, whether it's keeping it stable and secure, basically AI can improve nuclear all the way through. So they need each other.
Stay tuned for day 9 where we're actually going to have a live Q&A, so prepare your questions and excited to see everyone there.
Check our stories for more info. Bye.
Welcome back to the 10 Days of AI x Nuclear Electricity. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Harper, and today's day 10, and we're doing a recap of our whole series. AI uses a lot of electricity, and we can see that number probably continuing to grow, unless there's some crazy breakthrough that AI actually might enable. But until then, it's going to need a lot of electricity.
But the problem is that we also want to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels because of problems like climate change. So we need to ensure that we're meeting AI's energy needs with clean energy.
Given AI's needs, like a powerful and consistent source of energy, nuclear is an excellent option.
But the reality is that it's been really challenging and expensive to build new nuclear reactors, at least in the United States.
But because of the specific needs of AI companies like clean and reliable energy, they might be willing to pay a little bit extra for an energy source that perfectly matches their needs.
And this might be the thing that moves the whole nuclear energy industry forward in the West.
They need each other. So hopefully you'll be open to nuclear and follow Isabel for more about nuclear energy to learn how it works, what it is, regulations, and more. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.